Looking back, it's actually been a pretty good year for boss fights, whether it's in role-playing games or Metroidvania titles. However, there have been a fair number of awful encounters. There are also those that, despite their quality, were just plain disappointing for a myriad of reasons. Let's go over 10 such boss fights here, though be warned that spoilers abound. Nemesis Second Form Resident Evil 3 Remake. For how disappointing the overall experience was compared to the Resident Evil 2 remake, seeing Nemesis's redesigned forms in the Resident Evil 3 remake was pretty cool. However, while the second form was appropriately grotesque and menacing with its size and agility, it just couldn't make up for the removal of the original's clock tower sequence. At least the Nemesis climbs up on top of the clock tower at some point and does mean eyes at you. That's kinda neat. Eremis, Destiny 2 Beyond Light. No one really expected Eremis, who wielded the power of stasis, to really be a lasting threat. Even Oryx was disposed of over the course of a few hours in Destiny's The Taken King. But we at least expected a better boss fight, especially after how much had been built up. Instead, it was your typical fallen Kel, except, well, with the ability to shoot ice, and the player having quicker stasis regeneration to trivialize it anyway. Eremis didn't even re-emerge in the Deepstone Crypt raid, though it was honestly all the better for it.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Look what I've done for you. No more light.
Zero Day, Watch Dogs Legion. We won't bother explaining the entire plot of Watch Dogs Legion, the conspiracies and treacheries involved. But, long story short, Sabine, your cohort in DedSec, is Zero Day, the one who planned all of the bombings. And yes, she was working with Albion until being betrayed. To achieve this, she tries to change Bagley to shut down the city's CTOS, so the player works with the AI to ultimately stop this. Upon confronting Sabine, is there a monumental battle? A heated tussle resulting from a comrade's betrayal? No. You just make her fall and spout a random one-liner at her death. Even by Watch Dogs standards, this was pretty lame.
How's that for a hard reset?
Bluepoint Games did a good job translating what made the original Demon's Souls so great, while massively improving its visuals and presentation. However, if there ever could have been one change, we would have liked to see a proper boss fight. For as cool as it looks, and how easily it destroys the player in the beginning, this is still just a fight where you sneak around, fire some harpoons and kill the boss with very little effort. It sucked back in 2009, and it sucks now. Cree Century, Marvel's Avengers. In the finale for Marvel's Avengers, MODOK with his classic giant head and hover chair serves as the boss, which was expected. Despite having to beat down on lots of robot henchmen yet again, at least it's cool to shift between the different Avengers through the course of the fight. However, suddenly MODOK reveals that he has a Cree Century. Where did he get a Cree Century from? That's not important, because a huge throwdown against a towering boss is imminent. Or not, as it's merely set up for Kamala to have a button-mashing cutscene battle before quickly disposing of it. Iron Cloud Disintegration. What even was this final battle? Roma and his crew essentially battle Shuck's Iron Cloud, the giant prison ship that they escaped from in the beginning. Except not really. Instead, you're taking out waves of enemies and ultimately causing a power surge that sends a huge rock into the ship and destroys it in a cutscene? It's not even a worthy conclusion, since, as Roma notes, this is one Iron Cloud of many. Unfortunately, given how the game performed, we likely won't be seeing the continuation of Disintegration's story anytime soon. Final boss, Fast and Furious Crossroads. No one expected this to end well. No one. But I at least hope to have a relatively painless final encounter to just close out the horrible mess that was Dom and Letty's excellent adventure. Instead, you started off by using a harpoon to remove turrets from the boss's vehicle, which is more or less what you do in the very first mission of the game. That's not the end though, as you must race to a rocket and fire missiles at it, and then fire more missiles at it while mindlessly racing against it, and then more hacking. Simply awful. Ordrak, Torchlight 3. To be fair, Ordrak isn't the worst boss fight on this list, but it's still incredibly disappointing. As the corrupt dragon from Torchlight 1, it's kinda cool to see him return for the sequel after all of these years. The problem is that he's not really a big step up from his first appearance, despite some new attacks. If anything, roughly a decade later is even less imposing. Even the Netherlord from Torchlight 2, which released in 2012, felt like a bigger deal than this. This is it, the final encounter with the boss. While fighting him, it becomes fairly obvious that he doesn't possess much threat. If anything, the boss is simply fighting with the same weapons you have access to. However, he fails to really utilize them in an interesting way, and then that's the fight. No second form or additional phase or burst of power that changes his attacks. Xemnas, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. The boss battles in Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory weren't attempting to be too complex or insanely over the top. Still, for a game that's all about experiencing the series' highlights, it's kind of sad to see Xemnas from Kingdom Hearts 2 reduced to this kind of battle. You attack him in one phase and deflect and dodge lasers in the defense phase, which seems all well and good. But actually looking back on this fight from Kingdom Hearts 2, which featured numerous phases, quick-time events, and even a shoot-'em-up sequence, and you realize just how much was left out. We didn't even get Sora fighting alongside Riku, despite the accompanying cutscene indicating as much.
And that wraps it up. If you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos daily, so make sure you don't miss them by subscribing. We appreciate your support, and we thank you for checking us out.